Welcome, everyone. Before we do introductions, I just want to highlight that we have an audience poll for this session. So if you could go into your apps, click on this session in the agenda, you'll see poll, and then there's a little question for you to answer, which is relating to the marketer tech stack. And I'll obviously bring up the results on stage. While you're doing that, let's go through introductions. David, can I start with you, please?
Hi, David Fisher, Industry Principal for Media, Entertainment and Advertising at Snowflake. Do you want me to tell them what Snowflake is if they don't know?
If they don't know, yeah.
If you don't know what Snowflake is, we are a AI data cloud, perhaps the AI data cloud. About 12,000 customers, several thousand in media and marketing. So a lot of the organizations here today use us as their data infrastructure.
Thank you very much. Rob?
Rob McLaughlin, co-founder and CEO of Audiences, a great partner and collaborator with Snowflake.
Whoop.
It's great to be here together. It's great. ATS is great, by the way.
Oh, that's very kind. Thank you very much. I agree, obviously.
We're having a very good time. So we're a cloud-native application, enables brands and publishers and data owners to flow their data throughout the whole of the advertising ecosystem, capitalizing on their investment that they've already made in cloud and data warehousing, and do it without any worry for data privacy or security.
Wonderful. Nice and complicated. Well, actually, hopefully we'll prove the opposite is true. Martin?
Yeah, so Martin Beauchamp, IPG Mediabrands. So thank you, Sean, very kind of you.
Plant.
I essentially look after kind of our data and technology teams that then advise and consult with clients on what to do with their tech stacks.
Susie?
Hi, so I'm Susie McAvoy. I run MX, which is Miroma Location Experts. We are an independent global out-of-home agency.
Wonderful. And last but not least, Kristina.
Hi, I'm Kristina Kaganer. So I come with about 15 years of ad tech experience, specifically focused on data across brands and agencies. And most recently, what I'm doing is actually helping companies become truly AI native by embedding AI inside of their product software development life cycles, as well as inside of their data infrastructure so that they can make better use of data with hopefully smaller investments.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Let's get right into it. So my first question to you all is, with investment in data on the marketer brand side so high, and with the prevalence of data, why is a stat I got from you, Rob, is less than 3% of media of data activated using first-party data? What is stopping the activation, the use of first-party data in media? David, from where you sit, what are you seeing?
I like Rob, but I'm not sure I like his stat. I think it may not be.
Okay, good, interesting.
Maybe true.
I'm already like doing fake news on stage.
Maybe true from what Rob sees or Rob's perspective, and certainly I think there is room to grow for first-party data in media. I think that you have to look at the entire ecosystem, and I think if you're looking at paid media and owned media, and this is one of the things that we'll talk about today, is if a marketer can get their data out of their cloud infrastructure, then they are using it in a lot of places. So they're getting it into their marketing automation, they're getting it into their customer experience platforms, but there is a challenge getting it into media. But there is an enormous amount of media in the walled gardens, influenced by first-party data. So maybe this is an open web problem, and maybe it's a plumbing problem. And we have thousands of marketers who have all of their customer data in Snowflake. I think one of the challenges, you have it in your cloud infrastructure, you've made this investment, and I'm sure Rob will talk to this. How do you get that into media environments? But I think we've got to think about media environments we're all obsessed with ad tech in this room. It's not all about ad tech, right? There are destinations, like your marketing automation, that are behaving slightly differently, I'd suggest.
Rob, talk to it.
Well, when we say media, we absolutely mean the walled gardens, but also the whole of the open web, and TV, linear and CTV, and digital out of home, and out of home. And everything, and
all of it,
and all of it would be better if it was informed by what advertisers know about their customers. And I guess that's what drives us, is a frustration that all of these amazing insights are largely failing to inform those channels. And it was amazing with the likes of IPG, Dentsu, Publicis, etc. them saying, we're crying out for this information, for this data, but we're not getting it from our clients. And our hypothesis, which over the last 3.5 years has been proven, is that it's a deadly cocktail of data privacy, data security, and kind of like the hassle that comes with doing anything which relates to data and technology. And we wanted to solve that. That's what we believe has been holding back the industry.
Interesting. Martin, from where you sit, kind of in the middle of the sort of consultancy side, what are you seeing as the blocker to why first-party data is not coming through and helping to actually inform campaign activation?
Yeah, and I think, so definitely on the activation side, I will agree that it is hard to get hold of that data. So obviously from a planning point of view, we get lots of data, we get lots of insights, we use all of that. That kind of propels how we think about media and media activation. When you look at a client and you go and see them, you have very different types of clients. You have clients that are very engaged in what they've got. They know where it is, they know where it sits, they know who's got access to it, they know how they want to leverage it. On the flip side, you have clients that are really disconnected, data sits in silos, nobody has any idea what it does, what permissions it has, how you can get there with those permissions, and then you run into the legal circus of, is it even usable? So like GDPR happened a long time ago, 7, 8-ish or something years ago. I still have GDPR conversations with clients on, you can't use this, you do not have the permissions to even think about using it. To which the client will say, no, it's absolutely fine, we've collected it, consented, there's no problem. To which you then go back and say, no, refer to your legal team. And the legal team go, oh yeah, no, you can't. And then you start at the beginning, right? So that process is quite a big process. And that's if you get access to the right people. Whereas often we're speaking to media directors, CMOs, and they're really thinking about, get the campaign live, get this brand out there, let's do the growth, let's do all of that stuff. And they're not necessarily thinking about, how do I get access? And how do I get that access in the hands of the people that activate the media? And we have to sit there and we have to kind of take them through that process. It's hand-holding. And not everyone wants to have that conversation. Not everyone's equipped to have that conversation. So I think that's really where the media agency has to position itself, and that's where we do position ourselves as someone that can propel the conversation, someone that can join organizations together. Don't just talk to the CMO, talk to the CIO, talk to the chief technology officer, talk to the analytics person. Like, it doesn't really matter. We just need an angle in, and then we can start extracting data out. But it's not easy, and we spent a lot of time getting our own data in order, just campaign data, so that we can report back on it properly. That's a big lift. So I understand why clients are struggling.
Yeah. Kristina, I'm seeing a lot of head nodding along with Martin there. What's your experience been in helping clients understand why it's important to understand their first-party data? And also, I guess, a broader question is, do they know if their data is good or bad?
Oh, wow. So I think the point around GDPR is super, super relevant. I, to this day, still have conversations around what is included in legitimate interest, is it consented, but also more importantly, has that data now actually reached its shelf life where it's no longer useful? Going back to the second part of your question. One of the biggest challenges that I've seen with brands over my entire career, and this hasn't changed ever, is they collect a lot of data and then they're surprised when they go to use it and it does nothing, right? So I think one of the most important things, and I was fortunate enough to be at AB InBev where I feel we did this exceptionally well, one of the most important things is that once you collect that data, you not only have to have a use case, which is covered under your GDPR, privacy, infrastructure, whatever it is, to be able to execute that data, but also more importantly, you need to keep that life cycle. You need to give people the option to opt out, but you also need to re-engage them, and you need to be really value-driven. And the same way that as marketers, we talk about, value creation from a branding point of view, you need to have value creation from a data point of view. I think the fundamental change that I've seen in the landscape over the last year, really with the rise of AI, is the composable data tech stack, which I'm super, super passionate about. Because it used to mean that you needed to invest billions in order to have this conversation, or millions, but very, very big numbers. Now, with the rise of the composable data stack, you can actually invest based on the value that you think you're going to be generating for both your external customers and also your internal customers, which are your CMOs, your CIOs, and ultimately get everyone more engaged with the data process. So I don't think there's a definition of good, but I think we are now actually in a place where we have the tools to create that definition.
So I think yes, and I think what a lot of our clients look to agencies for, and not necessarily to salespeople too, is why am I doing this? What is the return on investment? And if anybody remembers the whole DMP saga, right? Like people spent millions on DMPs, and I can count on one hand, the number of successful integrations that were carried through, where people staffed it up properly and it actually did something. And I can count probably all of these people, everyone in this room, I can count DMPs that were bought, and the use case was suppression, and suppression in programmatic, and you're like, drop the pixel, collect the cookie, exclude the audience, right? You could have done that for free. And so, there's a lot of, we still need to educate clients, we still need to then sit down and just do a little bit of maths with them and say, what is the investment? What do you want to do on it? What's it serving? What media channel is it serving? Is it serving, a £500,000 campaign, one media channel, or is it serving the 50 million you're going to be spending in search?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot to unpick here, and Kristina did a fantastic promotion of Snowflake there with composable tech stacks. But I want to bring Susie in. From your perspective, where you sit, kind of very much focused on the out-of-home side, what conversations are you having with brands, with agencies that you work with, to help them understand what first-party data can do to help you do your job better?
Yeah. So just touching on what you said there earlier, I think most brands don't have a problem with collecting of the data. It's understanding how to activate it in meaningful ways that are scalable, measurable, really. There's a tendency to overinvest in the collection and underinvest in the connection, which leads to the data silos, right? We talked about it, and disconnected from real key activation environments, out of home, retail media. And I think there's two real issues going on there. It's structural. Many of the tech stacks aren't built with media activation in mind as the end goal, and cultural. Just as many businesses have data, but it doesn't mean you're a data-driven business.
That's very true.
Dare I say, if the data isn't creating real-world impact, it's just expensive storage, right?
Rob,
I love that you bring that up. And we find our clients after they've made millions of pounds with enterprise organizations, millions of pounds in data projects where they've implemented the likes of Azure, AWS, and Google Cloud, and they bought the amazing tooling for data warehousing from Snowflake, Databricks, and BigQuery. And marketing hasn't seen a moment of value at all in that. So they're sat on multi-million-pound investment, and marketing's seen no upside yet.
Absolutely, and it's hard for clients. Sometimes we can, as agencies, we can help them move from these static data pools to live intelligence. We have real-world data that we can layer into their first-party data. So for us in out-of-home especially, we're close to the point of purchase, and we can lean into data such as, footfall, dwell time, weather, individual store performance, and all of that really help, shifts into us being able to use their data with what we can bring to make it richer and more real time, to drive and inform better media decisions and ultimately outcomes. And, going back to the very first point, sorry about the lack of use of the data that is there, we can help brands use data more effectively and more frequently.
Yeah, I'm just going to, before I come to you, which I will do next, I promise, I just want to bring up the results of the poll and see what the perspectives are there, if I can ask someone to bring that up. So the question was, why is so little first-party data being activated in advertising? So basically what we just talked about. The winner there, by quite a long way, is privacy and security challenges are a nightmare. Do you all agree with that? Is that, for you, the biggest blocker in activating first-party data? Is security?
Hell yes.
Yes.
And I was going to say something else, but I think that's a double-edged sword, right? Which is, which is, and I think this is when we talk here about so there's been a lot of unbundling of adtech in the conference today. MarTech has been becoming composable for a number of years. It's been moving from monolithic marketing stacks where you move your data into another marketing cloud. You've got another copy of the data. It's not connected to any of the rest of your enterprise data. That is increasingly being run from your data infrastructure like a Snowflake. And I think for me, the seismic shift that has happened in the last few years is marketers, but the organizations around them, understanding that they need to build a solid customer data foundation. So what is the concept of a single customer view, of a customer 360, of getting everything into one place about the knowledge you have on that customer? So the analytics, the behavior, the transactions, connecting it to the CRM and having that as a golden record. I think if you do that, then what's interesting about composable MarTech is you then don't need to work with these monolithic external entities, though you can do if you want, and many do. You can work with tools that do elements of the stack. So they can do business intelligence, they can do audience segmentation, they can reverse ETL out of your cloud into marketing for activation. You can work with the modular parts of a CDP in order to take the best of it, maybe AI decisioning and reporting, whatever it may be. And if you do that, and I think then if you work in this composable with your data in the cloud project, and you do privacy by design, this sentiment that privacy and security challenges are a nightmare, modern security, you should be fine if you're working with a large organization, the hyperscalers as. And then privacy is a challenge you have to build in by design. So a consent management platform now in Snowflake, if I think about the big consent management platform providers, we'll build a native application in our platform so that consent is done at the heart of the customer 360 in the cloud. And then when you work with a platform like audiences, it's a pre-consented audience. And that's the difference, is this idea that you build a strong customer foundation, you bring these applications to the data, you don't move that data around for security reasons, but you connect it into the ecosystem, you connect it with the relevant tools, you collaborate, and you can then activate. And then I think you see a rapid increase in the amount of first-party data in the ecosystem.
I think there's just one important point on that, which is risk versus reward. So at least in my experience doing this brand side for a number of years, when you look at the potential impact of being able to make use of all of this data, you need to somehow have a target number in mind, right? How much is it going to grow your business? How much is it going to grow revenue? Whatever it is. And all of these pieces that you talked about, even though the technology is there today, what's not really clear to marketers in particular is what is the potential reward of all of this. And I think that's what we can do as an industry right now, is start thinking about the value creation and using data as an asset. For example, one of my I still think best ideas about 8 or 9 years ago that never got implemented was I worked at a beauty manufacturer, fragrance company, and sampling was a really, really important part of our key market strategy. We used to say that if we could get a sample into the hands of a consumer, we could almost guarantee a sale at some point. But sampling is very expensive and very, very difficult. I wanted to launch a range of vending machines where a customer could put in their email and in exchange get a free sample or pay for a sample. And then the application of that across the entire ecosystem is huge, 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 huge. One of the reasons why that never happened is because the offline piece, the in-store piece, we never previously had composable data stacks where you could actually implement something that would collect those emails in a privacy-safe way without having to integrate back into these monolithic platforms that you were just talking about. So I think now for first-party data is the rise for, I challenge every single marketer to think about what is the potential. If you could have a magic wand and wave it, what would you do with that? And ultimately, what is that value that you're willing to invest for the growth that you think that this will create? Almost treat it like a new business venture.
Well, I think it's incumbent on us to deliver like the good news to the ad tech ecosystem because of the last, it's pretty much 10 years investment that enterprises and publishers and advertisers have made in cloud data stack, data warehousing, etc. Like, that stuff is within your grasp now. Like, every organization you go to has the cloud data platform, has the data warehousing. Now, I think it's really interesting. Maybe the client contact leading the media strategy, maybe quite often they don't know the answer of where the data is and where it is, but we need to network with them within their organizations because I tell you what, they have their data on AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud. They're using Snowflake, Databricks, or BigQuery. The answer is definitely one of those three and one of those three.
And our fastest growing partner in the media space are composable customer data platforms, which is all audience segmentation, activation, and AI in media and marketing. And the growth is insane. If they go up against a monolithic now, they win everything. And they're winning organizations that you would never believe. They're winning 20, 30 million, $40 million CDP contracts. And these are businesses that didn't exist to all intents and purposes 3 or 4 years ago. And it's composable marketing.
But so I want to touch on, you saying that the data is available now in its droves. It's there. It's ready to use. I want to touch on some of the other responses on the poll, which were, oh, I don't know where it is. Like, I don't have access to it, or it's in a different department where I talk to it. I hear stories of, I think, Martin, a conversation we have, you might have a client that might say, you might say to them, we see this pixel firing here. Like, do you have access to that? And they go, no, that's not our department. It's a different department. And you go, well, we could make use of that. We could do great things if you give us access to that information too. We talk about MarTech, we talk about marketing teams. Actually, the marketing team don't really have access to half of it. It feels like an afterthought for them. How do we bring them into the mix and them into the conversation as well, so that they know, and I refer to the marketing team and the agencies that work with them as well, how can they get access to this and have an understanding of what data is housed within their office, within their building, within the department, probably on the next desk, and have a conversation so they know what's going on. Because a few people did say, oh, I don't know, that's a different department, we don't talk to them.
That's a lot of eyes on me, and I feel like I'm not sure if I've got the correct answers.
No, I'll come to you first anyway.
It is networking in it. It is going into clients and trying to understand and trying to get the access. I think the bit that we often get to is, right, the data's there, we can get it into a good place, right? But then we also have to think to the latter end of that, which is, and will we get it to match to anything when we turn it in? So, like, again, we go back to very simple sort of back of the envelope maths, and we go, okay, well, if we do this, we think we can get you an increase of X% in ROI or whatever, or better targeting or better suppression, or, again, like, depending on what the maths needs to be and what it needs to look like. But the bit that I struggle often with the activation platforms is, yeah, but we're not getting the scale, and now we can't get the budget away. So there's one side which is we got to get to the data, and that is a lift, and that's hard for us to do. But we're getting better at it, and we're starting to understand who to have those conversations with, and actually, platforms like you guys are enabling those pieces. The second part is, are we sure the data really will pay off? Are we sure that it will do the thing that we need it to do, and will we get the match rates that we need? Because everyone's got like 17 different phones and devices, and everyone's logged in maybe on different email addresses. So you got to be on the device where we know you're matching. You got to be watching the thing, logged in, or doing the thing. That's quite a lot of variables, and we've got to see that in the bid request. So I can see why advertisers go, can we just get reach? Everyone loves reach, right? And still, big brands, they love reach because it serves the purpose, and MMM will always balance out and say reach is good.
It's my question. Sorry, carry on.
The simple fact is, I think that marketing and technology have to be better friends.
Yes.
Right? There are not enough people working that understand both skill sets. There are not enough people working as professionals in MarTech, in the actual tech side of it.
Well, even just you working at Snowflake, I think.
Yeah, but I can't write SQL. I can't write Python. And so, in a lot of instances, if you want to get the data out of a platform like ours, you have to write SQL or Python. So I have to work with someone who can do that. Then the next answer is you need to work with AI, right? Because that will nullify some of that need to work as an engineer, frankly, and as a data analyst. Because it will become, the data will just be there. You can query it.
I would suggest we've got an amazing client in Saga PLC, also a Snowflake client. Hannah, their CMO, is a visionary marketer and leads a visionary marketing team. And
visionary buyer of technology.
Yeah, I mean, they've done the right things. Well, I think it's really interesting because I don't think I'm doing her a disservice here by saying she doesn't. Her and her team don't interact with Snowflake. They don't interact with Microsoft Azure. What they've done and why they've won many PMAs recently and all sorts regarding this is they've brought the office of the CTO, their data teams into the room. The answer isn't Hannah and her team learning how to write a SQL query and do this. It's then briefing it in, and then making sure that you've got the right tools in the right hands.
Because dare I say it, what she wants is to break down data silos. She wants a single version of customer truth, and she wants to be able to build segments and activate it. And that's what she should tell her technology team.
Exactly. And to Martin's point, they say, oh, cool, yeah, okay, we've got a segment. The data guys go, yeah, we've got a segment of 500,000 which we can target. And she goes, whoa, 500,000? Like, I want scale. Like, I don't want to target 500,000 people. I want to target, like, all men over 50 in the UK. That's millions of people. So no, I don't want targeting. I'm speaking as a marketer. I want to use that 500,000 as a seed for a lookalike and go out into the open internet or on the walled gardens or whatever. And that's when you get this beautiful interaction between the people who know about tech and data and the marketer who just wants to be able to use that tech and data to get the scale that they want, because they do want the scale.
Well, so this sounds few and far between. I mean, it sounds like a bit of an edge case, almost.
It's getting more and more, and it's the only answer. Technology is already as good as it's going to get regarding this.
Yeah.
It's humans working together.
Yeah,
no,
Kristina and Susie.
I was just going to add, I think part of the role that we can play as agencies is bringing together that duo. So I kind of see it as a bit of our role to bring to life the CMO vision. And it's often bold. They want to scale. They want aggressive growth, personalization. In the reality of the world of the CTO, that's got, legacy stacks and complex legalities to kind of adhere to. And, we can help. I think we need to help them simplify. So turn complexity into clarity. And it's on us to ask, why? Why are we doing this? What's the outcome? Keep it purpose-driven. And we have the permission to do that, I think, within clients across departments that maybe are so used to kind of operating in certain ways that they don't think to push that. And that's kind of us as bringing that together.
I think to draw from a panel I watched earlier, or maybe moderated, you have the permission from the marketing team, but you have the permission from the DPO, for example. And that's often the challenge, isn't it? Kristina, you're itching to speak. I'm going to let you.
Yeah, I just have to say this because what you guys described and what we're talking about is exactly what happened in software development cycles when everyone moved from waterfall to agile and everyone thought it was the best thing since sliced bread. The idea that you bring your customer to the forefront of your requirements is not necessarily a new one. It's just one that traditional organizations haven't been forced to think about. And the fundamental difference that I see with AI-enabled software development versus previous software development is we used to have a very linear cycle where an idea comes in, goes to one team, goes to a next team, goes to the next team. The thing is, that's not how data products are built. I've spent an entire career building data products. They are built stacked. You start with a good foundation of solid, clean data. You put use cases on top of it. You execute those use cases. You measure. You report back. And so the traditional linear cycle of I have an idea, I need to go to 20 different departments independently just doesn't work at the speed you need it to. But the good news is software development went through this, and there's a bunch of frameworks and tools that we can put in place to better connect those departments and start having those humans talk to each other.
I just think, while I buy into a lot of that, I also think there are very core technology and data tenets, which are now increasingly true about data gravity. Don't move the data if you don't have to. Create a single warehouse if you can. Don't replicate the data. Work with organizations that can help you work across cloud. Make sure that you are building an architecture which can break down those silos. So if you have to go to lots of people, you're not dealing with a mess when you get there.
I want to, it's been touched on, but I want to talk about how AI can help future-proof this conversation. We talk about monoliths versus composable stacks. We talk about the unbundling of adtech. The unbundling of MarTech applies to this as well. What role will AI play in making this situation we find ourselves in, the stack confusion almost, complexity, and also kind of the proliferation of activation of first-party data? What role is AI going to play? Kristina, I'm going to come to you for this one first.
I mean, there's 1.5 million applications. There's obviously the internal application of making it easier to actually develop, scale faster, ship faster. There's the ideation piece of being able to enhance human ideas, gather requirements, groom things to requirements. And then there's my favorite piece, which is when we talk about AI, largely we talk about large language models, but there's actually an entire world of AI that's existed for a very long time in the advertising ecosystem, which is deep learning and machine learning and heuristics, and those are not only incredibly important, but I think now are going to have their time to shine because a lot of that heavy lifting can be done by the LLM work in terms of workflow orchestration, and people can spend more time thinking about the outcomes that they want and ultimately briefing in the experts to build products that allow them to deliver on that.
Yeah. I mean, just adding on that a little bit further, I feel that AI will help marketers ask better questions. So by that, it can surface patterns, generate hypotheses, remove technical barriers to exploration of the data. For example, we could be asking, which audience segments are most likely to convert this weekend, based on all the variables that might go into what's happening this weekend. And that helps us get faster insights, closes the time taken, the resource invested, really, so we can make better decisions faster.
Rob, what do you see AI doing?
For sure, there's opportunity to use agentic approaches to build audiences faster and to optimize. That's really exciting. Kind of an old school one, though, would be in data science, say data science language, what you know about customers, prospects, presenting that, with all of that stuff which is beautifully stored in your data cloud with data warehouses, presenting that to all the platforms, so existing DSPs, SSPs, and all the emerging platforms that are coming up, presenting them as features. So the key learned information, what the advertiser believes is the truth about the people they want to target, presenting it up so that those DSPs, etc., can do their best job. I mean, that really, really hasn't happened properly yet. And that's something which data warehousing can gift to the advertising ecosystem right now. And it is AI, so hopefully we'll allow it to qualify for that.
It'll qualify itself, I'm sure. Martin, what role do agencies play, do you play in bridging the gap? And it feels like there is quite a big gap between accessing data, using data, understanding if the data is good or bad, and if we're using it for the right reasons and not for the sake of it. Kind of where do you play a role there?
I mean, essentially, all of my team are data technology specialists. They spend a lot of time thinking about what that application is in media, right? So we're not technologists for the sake of being technologists. We think about it deeply around media use cases. I think generally our conversations are, where is the data? How's it been collected? Can we start using it? What's the use case that we can come up with now that will prove the value for you to be able to continue to invest? Then it's around how do we stand up a team around that to make sure that it continues to get sort of, there's a process behind it, so it's not just a one-off trick that we pull and we go, great, we did a case study, fantastic, aren't we brilliant? But it becomes a repeatable exercise. I'm just going to go back to your AI question, which is, and I feel like sometimes I'm the downer on all of this stuff, right? Which AI is brilliant, and I agree with all of the stuff that everyone's just said, but there is a little bit of caution that we have to throw out there, which is AI can be confidently incorrect, and we spend a lot of time thinking about like how modeling works and like MMM, and now you can have sort of MMM models that you can access from Google or Facebook or whatever else, and you make a mistake in that, you're moving and shifting millions of pounds around incorrectly, and it will not pay out in the long term. So there's a bit of be careful with AI. And then back to our sort of open question to everyone in the room, which is AI is going to be a privacy nightmare. And I wonder how that's going to play out. And we're all very excited, of course, naturally, because we're all interested in this stuff. But slowly and surely, as I start seeing clients come through with and where's that data stored, and what does it influence, and who does it help influence, and what model is it going on there? How do I know that that's secured against all of your other clients? And that becomes a whole new conversation that we now have to have. And I'm not sure any of us have always the deep understanding and expertise to be able to explain it succinctly. So we're at that inflection point as well. But teams like mine have a very important role to play, obviously, because I need the job and they need the job. But we do think that there's loads of data out there. It can be really useful if we deploy it in the right way. It's going to be fantastic, and if we can pepper more data on top of it, brilliant. But the foundations have still got to be the foundations, and you still got to think about it in those terms.
Can it play a role in making the huge investment in tech more useful and more usable? Because obviously, how many dollars you invest in tech, you've got to invest X many dollars in kind of getting the resource internally to service it and maintain it and use it. Will AI help with that battle?
I think the answer to that is 100%, right? And I heard someone this morning on another panel talk about having to go into other platforms owned by the AIs to work with them each individually. That's not true, right? You can work in a cloud platform like ours and access pretty much all of them in the same place. I can build something on Snowflake today and toggle through the different AI models and see which one works best. Where am I burning credits? Where am I not? We've got organizations working in analytics, ad logs, behavioral analytics, and they're enormous data sets, right? There's enormous real-time data sets around marketing and analytics and customer behavior, supply chain, you name it. All these things will get connected with the AI because they're too vast to connect any other way and to see the value. And sometimes they're not even about PII, right? I could connect supply chain data to a single source media proposition where the marketing data is consented and the supply chain metadata has got nothing to do with PII. But I might still need an AI. It's not nothing to do with consent, but I need AI to connect it. And then when I look at how these things are increasingly queried and visualized, AI has a role to play. And I think that means that you are then also, meaning that more and more people in your organization are seeing the benefit of that data. So it isn't just people who can write SQL and Python. It is business users. And Rob's right. You can count on two hands the number of marketers that will operate in a platform like Snowflake, even though all their marketing data is there. But you can see already they're interacting with the AI that's built on the platform to interrogate the data.
I just want to raise one really practical example that I think will help contextualize how AI can make this more accessible. There is a workflow that I was designing a few months back for an app that I'm building myself. And in a non-agentic world without AI, it would have taken 34 screens for the application to deliver the value proposition back to the consumer. With AI and agentic workflows behind the scenes, which, by the way, the user doesn't see, the interaction still feels exactly the same way that it would have in a traditional application, but it went from 34 screens to 11. So for me, the real value proposition in agentic frameworks, independent of AI and LLMs and what do we choose there, the real value proposition is actually expediting that workflow and delivering value back to the consumer based on how you think they're going to interact with the platform. And the consumer can be a CMO, or it can be, a regular consumer, doesn't really matter. I think there's huge opportunity there.
I think that's great. Just on behalf of the ad tech ecosystem though, please can it be the last mile to getting loads of value from the data? Yeah, because we've been talking about using data in advertising for a very long time. Our clients, everyone involved in the ecosystem has invested billions of pounds in infrastructure and building up this data. We have to be at the point where we get massive value. AI, please, can't be the next big open question. It needs to, which I really appreciate that we've all been saying very specifically where the value is going to come from. It can't be the next big debate about what we're going to build next for the next 10 years. We've already built loads. Can we just get massive value from it?
Because start using it.
I think advertisers, publishers, and everything in between is pretty sick of talking about data and investing millions of pounds in data and not getting value from it.
No AI strategy without a data strategy. And more people are using machine learning than AI, right? This is not new.
Absolutely.
That feels like an excellent place to end this conversation. Thank you so much to David, Rob, Martin, Susie, and Kristina. Give them a round of applause. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.